we basically summarize in the webinar today, I think, three most common structures, right? The Sdn Bhd entity, the LLP structure, and also the enterprise sole proprietorship structure.
Right. In a way, there are two methods where the shareholders or the directors can initiate to close out the company themselves, right? There are two options. The one, the most commonly known is strike off, right? And the second one is members voluntary winding up. So why is the difference? So strike off is a quicker and cheaper options because it usually costs no less than $5,000, right? And then so long the company is inactive, not in operations, no unresolved legal proceedings, no outstanding penalties, and the process is quicker. When we say quicker, it can be done in 6 to 12 months, right? In terms of the members voluntary winding up, it's longer and more expensive. Usually start from 10,000, because what you need to do is that these are for companies who are still active or still have assets or liabilities in their balance sheet. So it needs time to clear that off before they can distribute whatever assets to the shareholders, right? Typically, this will take between 9 months to 12 to 2 years. What we have seen so far is they will usually involve like liquidators who will help them with the process. So strike off in a way is allowed under Companies Act 2016. First thing first is you need to get approval from the shareholders. So the next thing is the company should not have any more assets and liabilities. There are a few more criteria as well. Assuming that the company met all the criteria, get shareholder approval, management account, audit report, all up to date. So what will happen is that actually we can then submit to the SSM, apply for the strike off. After you submit to SSM will make a public notice, and people can object. You still have chance to retrieve your application within 30 days after the SSM issue the notice. And then can the company which is struck off be reinstated? Right? The answer is yes, but this one need to apply through court.
Yeah, so for the LLP, actually, I mean, the processes are much shorter compared to a Sdn Bhd. There is 2 options to close down, but the most common option is actually just a voluntary winding up by partners. And then what they can do is they can approach a corporate services firm like us, right? We can prepare the paperwork for them to sign off, and then to close down the companies. Most of the time, we can only help on the first option because that is the option where all the partners are agreeable to each other to wind up the company. The second option will require, in a way, lawyers and also liquidators. The cost for that is much, much higher compared to the first option. Okay, so the process of closing down the LLP can be summarized in 5 steps, right? This is after you have proven in the management accounts that all the liabilities have been resolved. Right? The step number 4 is something additional compared to a Sdn Bhd, because the LLP will need to publish on a Malaysian newspaper, 1 Malay newspaper and 1 English newspaper to declare that they are winding up. Okay, so this actually adds additional costs compared to a Sdn Bhd closing down. The next one I'll move on to is actually closing down an enterprise company or sole proprietorship, right? And compared to a Sdn Bhd and compared to an LLP, is also much easier to set up and much easier to close, because a sole proprietorship and enterprise is usually 1 person. So what needs to happen is the owner or the partners just need to, within 30 days of closing down or termination date, to notify SSM, right? So you don't have to appoint a service provider like us to do this process. You can actually do it yourself, right? You can download the form from SSM website, you fill it up, and then you submit it to SSM with, depending on the categories, right? If let's say the business is closed down, then it's easy to justify. But if let's say, death of owner, right, or court order, then you need to provide the supporting documentation.